get out of the way, you can see the moon. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Laura asked me to put my glasses on before I started. She said I look more handsome with my glasses on. We are, by my counts, 410 days into the COVID restrictions in various areas of the community. And take another look at that moon. Had some wonderful moon sets this week. Monday was such a spectacular ride that I videotaped about 70% of it because it was just stunning. The sun was coming up over here from the east and the moon was setting over here on the west. Look, we got some ducks out here today. Let's see if I could get you some ducky shots. That's the beauty of being here on the Bay Area. There's quite a few nesting in the marsh, which is pretty fabulous to see on a daily basis. Of course, there's the cargo rig. So today, hey, what's that smell? And it is sometime after 6 a.m. I wanted to start out talking about absolutism. We experienced a lot of absolute rhetoric over the course of the last administration, but the rhetoric, I should say the absolute statements, are starting to take place in the media during some of these situations. You know, by all accounts that I was taught, only the devil deals in absolute terms and statements. Other than science and facts, I mean, 2 + 2 = 4, etc. Math is pretty factual. So sticking to the facts, I mean, we have some people in Congress that are just, making a blanket absolute statement saying that they're coming to take your guns, which is, it's not true. It's an absolute statement that's not true. We'd like to see more sanity and consistency in gun laws, I'm sure. But yeah, if you want to get a gun, you should be able to get a gun, but nobody's going to come to take them away from you. So in a lot of ways, that type of absolutist statements are just, they're made to sway you and create fear. It's just McCarthyism of the 21st century. Anybody that took their history may have heard about McCarthyism back in the 50s and 60s, where they said that, everything unions do is communist and socialist, and the communists are coming to take over America. And it's just fear-mongering. And today, with the absolutist statements coming out during some of these questionable intervention situations, people are saying absolute things that doesn't make sense because, as you know, I believe in the interconnectedness of all things. So, trying to stay on point, when we were having the protest of last year, people were out there saying absolute things like defund the police. Well, what do you do if you take away the money for the police? And what about talking about, well, let's reform the police, but what about reforming the communities? And again, that's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it does start with believing in the equality of things and in giving people equal chances. So, when I was a kid, I was taught to respect the police and authority, and I thought that if I stole a piece of bubble gum and was caught by a police officer and I ran, that I could get shot in the back. That wasn't quite true, but I didn't run from the police. The only times I ever got in trouble with the police is when I smarted off. That would take a tags ticket, and then all of a sudden your tail light's not working either, and you get another ticket on top of it. So it's a tough job to be an officer. So cooperation is the best thing. So people are trying to paint the picture the way they want, and they're using absolute terms that aren't necessarily factual. And it's a trial by media, and absolute terms are something that we were taught to use in debate. So in a debate class and debate competitions and political debates, you often hear these absolute terms used, but they're not based on facts. They're based on trying to win. And in the public media, they're just trying to win you over. But in this day and age, we still have a thing that's in the Constitution. I believe it's the 13th or 14th Amendment that gives you the right to due process. And I believe that some of the events that are occurring in the media are not due process. Um, and one of the other things is, the police have body cams, and when there's interaction and stuff like that, you have a lot of people videotaping these situations and stuff like that. But where are these videos of people committing crimes? And being that today is Wednesday and it's what's that smell? That stuff stinks. It's a, you know, it's a having your cake and eat it too kind of situation. But y'all know from, the Italian mafia days and stuff like that, if you were a snitch, they were coming after you. So maybe that's why. Um, anyway, get along and things like that. So the elephant in the room is just that. There's two sides to every story, and we're getting a huge dose of one side of the story. And let's use our noggins and think. And it's not one-sided. You know there's no person in the world that took on the oath of being a police officer that wanted to go out there and execute anybody. It's just not. Nope, don't believe it. But bad situations created by others put people in awkward situations that lead to bad results. So there are no good or bad choices. They either turn out, no right or wrong choices. They either turn out good or they turn out bad. So it is about choice in that matter. Um, so the interconnect of all things that, people talk about systemic this and systemic that and the problems with the system. Well, it's we don't really have a system, but what system there is, it's rigged, and it's rigged in favor of the wealthy. The Constitution was built on checks and balances so that we could avoid those situations and avoid the imbalance and avoid the rigging of the system. But it's happened anyway, and it's part of that governing that we have to change to bring back balance. Now, that the underlying problem with the whole thing is greed and power. And the people with wealth and power use their influence to rig the system to gain more wealth and more power. It's up to us to get to our representatives and tell them, stop crying about higher taxes on corporations and the wealthy, because you're going to get wealthy from us anyway. If we get more money and our lower class people, I should say lower income people, there's no lower class in my opinion. Lower income people are lifted up, they're going to spend more money. Where do they spend that money? They spend it on the things that make you wealthy people wealthy. So give up your fair share. You complain about jobs being in the Eastern Asia and all that stuff. But if you paid enough money to the people here, you're still going to make your money, and you're going to have a better, more educated society with less issues and less problems. So it is the interconnected of all things. It really is. And the more we have equality, somewhat like we had in the late 70s, early 80s, the better it is for everybody. There'll be less strife. There'll be less poverty. And, to think about this phrase that Abigail Disney said, she wants to live in a world that would not need her to be philanthropic. Wouldn't that be nice? Sounds socialist, but it's not. You have to have that capitalistic incentive, but it's got to be a balance. You can't let the greedy overcome the people that just want to work hard and have the American dream. And it is the greedy that make the tax loopholes and all that other stuff that make it more difficult for the people that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, which is a great percentage of our country. And that's not fair. I wanted to think more positively on stuff like that. I have started a new website. I'm going to try to blog these What's That Smells, because I do have a script before I come out here and screw it all up. And, there's some important thoughts there. Of course, it revolves around the interconnectedness of all things and balance. And they just try to state the obvious, but it's all about trying to bring everybody together and get along. So again, I have a new website to go along with my Pono Media website that's going to be more about blogging. It'll be interconnected, get it? Interconnected websites, and a little bit more about my bicycle equipment and reviews and things like that. So just want to segment it out. It's davidallenborges.com/public_HTML / and we'll get some links up on Facebook and all other stuff. Thanks for joining me this morning on What's That Smell? And it's after 6 a.m. You got to see this airport all lit up here. Let's see if we can get that. Pretty nice there. Let me back out of there. Maybe that's a little bit better. Anyway, I'm going to get on the road here. It's getting close to that time. Thanks again. Did want to say thank you to Tony J, my mom, my real mom, Laura, Linda, Geraldine, Anna, Tina, Sherry, Tony.
I'm going to sign off. Peace, love,
and
all that other stuff.
Out there. I had a list, and
Lucy.
Well, it's in here.
Class of 78. There's my partner, Sweeney.
See you next time. Have a great
Number
day.
8 now.
It's beautiful out.
Where the heck are you, Virginia? Jesus whiz. I was going through some old photos, Sweeney. Gonna have to send them over.